better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us. If we just hold on tight, this vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. Wait for our home to show on the horizon. Soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us. If we just hold on tight, this vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. When we can't read the sky, we just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
Good morning everyone. I'm back on my sofa. I hope you enjoyed the little video on all the things that I've finished off so far this year in 2023. I'm actually sat here now with a new cast on, which was not on the cards for this year's things I plan to do. But you know, sometimes you get a new project because there's a new event. So as I've been telling you recently, I'm going to Elgin at the end of the, well, end of the month, beginning of May time. So I decided I wanted something to take to wear for the event, and also that I can use in the summer. Now, I love this colour yellow. I don't know what it is, but springtime and me are happy people. I think it's because the light changes and everything. All the colours that come out after the dark, long days of winter are just so cheerful. And last week, I was in town getting my hair cut. I got my hair done. Yes, I got it done. It's done. So I just stopped there, sorry. I just paused the video there because I wanted to check that you could hear me. I thought to myself, had I turned the volume up on the side of my phone? Anyway, yeah, you're fine. You can hear me. So I think I probably moved the phone slightly, so you're getting a different view now, but that's okay. That just adds to the, interest, doesn't it? I quite enjoy making little videos now, the little introductions and the outtakes, as we call them, or the B-roll. I like those little bits because I can play with them, and I love adding the music, so that's kind of good. Anyway, so I was saying that I decided to start a new project. At the moment, I am knitting a skirt suit, and if you've been watching me on Instagram, I have posted up the yarns that I'm using for this project, and they just reminded me so much of tulips and daffodils at this time of year. And I dug out an old photograph I took in about 2019, I think it was, of a lovely bunch of tulips that I got in different colours, and it's just reminded me so much of the yarns that I've just purchased for this project. Now, I'm using a vintage pattern, so this, which I am knitting on at the moment, is going to be a panelled skirt. The pattern I've adapted to be more of a pleated skirt. So in this skirt, there's about 7 panels. You see? Now, I'm knitting from the top down. So I've started with about 175 stitches for my size, and I'm working down to what would probably be over 400 stitches on the circular needles. And guess what? What have you done to me, guys? I am knitting with circular needles. This pattern, this vintage pattern, was actually done in individual pieces from the top down, and you had to sew them up. Now, I have practiced doing that before, and I thought to myself, I could do this on a circular needle. It would be a lot easier. So that's what I've done. So I now come to a new row where I'll put my little ring over. So at the moment, I'm increasing every 10 rows on the 10th row on each side of the pearl insert. So I've been going from the top, started with pearl 1, and I'm now down to about pearl 11, I think. So what this panel is about knit 24. I'm going to stop at some stage when I get to some form of equality, and then just start increasing on the knitted panel. So that's experimental though. I hope it works, because I wouldn't want to have to pull that back. So what am I knitting with? Well, this may be controversial for many, but there comes to a time when you can't afford to buy all the yarns you would like to buy. I could dye them. I could buy a set of yarns already made. I could actually spin the yarn to make it, but to be fair, that would take too much time at the moment, and this is a quick job. I've got 4 weeks, probably less than 4 weeks to do it. And today we're April the 1st when I'm filming this. So, plodding along, I have this gourd or panelled skirt to knit, which I'm progressing on quite well with the circular needle process, which hasn't been my favourite, but yeah, I can see the benefits of it in various jobs like the top down sweater or this skirt. So I'm plodding along here, but now the pattern asked for me to do it in 4mm needles. So I've had to change the gauge a bit, and this is, I have, in the past year or so, I have heard this mentioned so often about gauging and stuff like that. Yeah, I never really did it in the past, but if I want to change a pattern, then I'll do a bit of a gauge. I'm not really, or not even a swatch, but I know that I'm on the right track with this because I know how I knit. And I'm actually not on 4mm needles, but I'm on 4.5mm needles. So I had to change it from 22 stitches per 4 inches down to about 18, 17, 18. So that seems to work. And I've calculated the stitches on an 18 stitch per 4 inch gauge. How I work it out now as well is that if you have an 18 stitch gauge, you're likely to be needing 24 rows. If it's 18 stitch, 24 rows, that's only 6. Hang on, I might be wrong there. Oh, hang on a second. 22 stitches with 30 rows is 8 difference, isn't it? So that's what I'm doing. So 18 inches plus 8 is 26 rows. So that's how I kind of work out my gauging. So for instance, if it's going to be 28 rows for every 4 inches, depends on the length of my skirt. So from here to say mid-length, probably about 27 inches, isn't it? Or even 28 perhaps. So divide 28 inches into 4 and then times your 18 times your 28 rows, and that should get you the calculation of how many rows you will need to do to achieve the length of skirt you want. So let me just think about that again, because I'm doing this off the top of my head as I usually do. That's not always very successful, but you know, we'll have a go. So if, for instance, I have a gauge of 28 rows in a 4-inch swatch, the length of my skirt is possibly 28 inches. Divide that by 4 and what you get? Actually 7 times. So 7 times 4 swatches lengthwise equals 28 inches. So you multiply the 28 rows in your swatch by 7, and that is the length of from the waist to mid-length, or mid. Whatever your length of skirt, that's how you could work it out. It's a little tip on how to do those things. Now, because I am bigger than the pattern, I'm still using 4.5mm needles, which is bigger than the needles on the pattern as well. I had to play around with the amount of panels that I required for the skirt. Now the skirt pattern says you needed 6 panels. When I'd done my measurements and I'd calculated my measurements around the waist and the hips, you need to calculate that with the stitch ratio on your gauge. So 18 stitches equals 4 inches. So if you've got a 36-inch waist, i.e. and you divide it by 4 and you times it by 18. That's how many stitches you need, isn't it? So 9 times 18 is where you start from your 36-inch waist. Increasing on the pattern, it was an increase on every 8 rows, then 10 rows. Then I've kind of sort of started with the 5th row on the, from the ribbing, I started an increase there. Then I did an 8th row, and then I've continued doing 10th. I've decided to do it every 10th row, and there's going to come a point where I've got to stop, and I know how many stitches I need to have on my needles before I start doing a little colourful pattern on the bottom. There's a little stripe on the bottom. Anyway, the more I talk about it, the more it sounds complicated, but it actually isn't. It isn't. And I suppose with me, I've been knitting for 50 years. So if I don't know now how to do these things, then I'm really stuck. But I've been teaching myself these things for some years now. Anyway, why did I pick such a colourful collection of yarns? Oh, did I tell you what yarns I was using? You see, I've forgotten now. I'm actually using Stylecraft, which as I said before, is for some is pretty controversial because it's 100% acrylic, but it's one of the best acrylics on the market. At the moment, it's like, it's very up here. To get some of the colours has been difficult because I went in when she was doing the order, but as she quite rightly told me, this is produced in Turkey. Well, we all know what's happened in Turkey recently, don't we? So, you know, to get the yarns that you want is not rare as hen's teeth, but it's going to be difficult, isn't it? Because they're getting themselves back together again. They're having to rebuild their lives after these terrible earthquakes that happened there. So I don't know much more about that, but you can understand, can't you, that things aren't going to be like they were normally. I do prefer to use natural yarns, it's true, but I've been knitting with Stylecraft Special DK for years now. I've used them in my blankets. It washes really well, knits up really well, crochets up really well. And if I was to say to anybody, what acrylic would you recommend, this would be the one. It has almost like a cotton feel to it sometimes, I feel, but that just might be me. I'm going to have a bit of a slurp. As you all know, I've been struggling with my throat lately. I'm not going to go into that again, but I'm going to have a little slurp. Stops it from going dry. So what colours did I get? So you've seen the picture. Let's have a little run through. I've got them here next to me. So, oops, little end coming up. This one is Sage. Ooh, it's hiding my face. I don't like that. I've got focus on my face. I don't know why. But that's, I'll just hide it from it. That's the Sage. Okay. This is one of my favourite colours. This is the magenta. Then I've got Spice. Now, I've knitted a lot with orange last year, and that was using the Jaffa, which is very bright orange. This one's more of a earthy orange, I suppose. And then top of my list is Matador. Now this year, if you watched, was it Ralph Lauren or was it another of the fashion shows, they had a very Spanish inspired catwalk. I'm not sure if it was Ralph Lauren or which one it was now. I'll look it up because I kept the video because it was really good, and I'll put a link to it in my description box. And it was, they were just beautiful. So Matador red and, well, going with black, well, yeah, there's got to be some lovely outfits in there. So I'm knitting with Citron. That's the colour. Just put it up to for you. Citron. Now, where are all the colours going to go? Well, at the bottom of this skirt, there's going to be a few little stripes. I'm going to just kind of show you what the skirt pattern shows. There you go. So you've got a few rows of different colours on the bottom. So that's my aim. But the top is going to be a 40s inspired top, made with a Shetland lace body in stripes of those colours. So I'm going to start from the top down. Well, I'm not going to knit it top down, it's going bottom up in this case. But I'm going to, the colours are going to start with the Matador red around this part, the neckline and across the top of the shoulders. Then it's going to go Spice, magenta, and then sage, and then the welt, which is fitted down here, I think it's about a 3-inch welt down here, and the last little stripe down here will be in the citron, so that it kind of looks as if it goes into the skirt, so it'll be a bit looky like a dress, you know what I mean? Why did I get those colours? Yes, spring, tulips, daffodils, all the rest, but it actually was because back in, was it before lockdown? I bought and I designed and bought some handmade Italian leather ballet flats, which I've shown before, and I'm going to put a picture up again, with this lemony colour, the sagey colour, and the magenta colour. And so I've never worn them, never had the chance to wear them, so I thought I'd like to have something that I can just, they can just blend in with, but still be a statement piece. And then what I thought I might do, because I love the picture of the tulips, is have my artwork printed onto a shopper bag with a sort of a pale blue background or a cream background, so that I always like a bit of a shopper bag, because handbags are never have the space for everything I take with me when I go somewhere. So a shopper bag would be just perfect for that, and it would just fit in nicely with, you know, with the outfit. And then I've got time, if I've got time, because this is quite a project, I will make myself a little cloche or a bucket hat to go with it. I think it might be a cloche hat, since the style of it is very 40s inspired. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing today. My plans for the future, as you know, are to continue to spin and dye the yarn that I'm going to use for my hoppy sweater. I've still got a number of whips that I need to finish. The denim jacket, the other jumper that I started knitting. This was the Carol Feller jumper I knitted for last year. I've got one with reds and golds in it, and I'm sort of done the body, but I'm now stuck on the sleeves doing a magic loop system. That part of doing sleeves on a circular needle is not my favourite. What's the word? My favourite job. I'm going to say that just because it's simpler and I can't think. You know, the normal. So yeah, so that's me for the moment. What else? Oh, and I've also got a little cream shrug that I've been I've done so far with. I need to finish that. It's actually not as difficult to finish, but I can do that over the summer, because here the summer isn't extremely warm at the best of times, but we have some lovely days. In fact, I like it better here than if I had to go down south when you have some really hot weathers. You know, I used to sit in my back garden in Manchester and at 30 odd degrees. Well, I don't think we ever reach that now here. Last year, I think it was about 24 degrees. While you guys were baking down in, you know, parts of the UK, it was quite nice. It just wasn't too hot. It was just comfortable, which is what you want, isn't it, really? Unless you enjoy very high heats. So why did I knit this skirt on 4.5mm needles? The reason is, on 4mm needles, this being a double knit, you would get a nice sturdy fabric. With 4.5mm needles, being that it will work up a bit quicker anyway, it will have a better drape, I think. You know, it'll feel more like a pliable fabric. It feels nice now. It feels light, and that's what you want, don't you? When the weather gets warmer as well, you don't want to be sat around in a hot suit. Whereas if you've done it quite likely with a larger needle you're going to get a more probably less stable but more, I want to say airy. Is that okay? Probably. Yeah, so I said I was going to talk about my plans for the future this week, wasn't I? And I have kind of touched on it. The problem is with me is I'm, unlike with many of you, I suppose, you start on finishing off a few projects and then something comes along and you think, oh, I'd like to do that. It's like I did a hat recently for a friend, and I enjoyed doing that. I haven't put that in my completed items, finished objects, but if you go on my Instagram page, you'll see a lot of the ones I've finished and maybe not actually posted up here. Last year I did complete set of crocheted items and knitted items for a friend of mine which was like, have you heard of the Wild Orange Tree website? She crocheted a beautiful daisy jacket and in cotton and in orange and white, and so I did one in Starcraft DK for a friend of mine in the Jaffa and the white, to replicate it as best I could without a pattern. So it was kind of a little capsule wardrobe. And a bag. I made a bag as well, yeah. Right, well, I've come to the end of that row. I don't know how many stitches I've got on now. I've increased, how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, actually, I'm probably ready for another one. Let's have a look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, I've even got worse now. I've gone up 12 rows. I'm not taking it back. I am not taking it back. Try taking that back and redoing it. No, I haven't got time to do that. So what I'm going to do is okay, so I've done a few rows in 10. Increase on the 10th row. How many times did I do that? 1, 2, 3. So from this point forward, I'm going to do increase on the 12th row. Now I have a little increase stitch that I'm doing. I'm going to do it on a little, I'm going to get my head camera out and just show you what I do the next time I do an increase. But I'm putting it into the row underneath my needle, pulling the yarn through, then bringing it up to the needle and then purling it for my first increase stitch in the purl section. Then I'll purl across the stitch that I've just increased from, and I get to the other side, and on the last purl stitch I put my needle in, wrap around the yarn, put the yarn to the back and knit through the back of the stitch, and that's the increase on that side. And that's how I've been doing my increases. Now, I've got to be honest with you, and it's okay, there is a little gap. But I think what I'm going to do when I come to the end of it is, because it's got such a nice little curl, as you can see, it curls inwards, I might just make a feature of that and sew down it, embroider down it with another colour. whatever that colour is, I don't know. It's a thought. Or it might just be the same colour. So there you are. So I hope you've had a little, hope you enjoyed my little half an hour of chat, knit and natter. I think I might give myself a break next week, if you don't mind. I'll be uploading this video probably midweek, and then it's a spring break, and yeah, you know, so I'll still be knitting somewhere, but it'll be nice just to have a little break and not have to think about, well, I've got to do a video for this week. And you know, I do like to photograph stuff that I'm doing anyway. So I think on Monday I'm on the West Mainland, so if that's the case, then I can probably do a little filming in Stromness so that you can get to see what Stromness is like, and maybe I can continue the story on the Hudson Bay Company, which I interrupted myself on in episode 23, because I thought to myself, oh, they're going to think I'm going to go down a different route today, and it's just, you know, it's too long a story just to trip over like I do. So it's an expression, let's go to the you know, go to your garden gate, or let me go to the garden gate. I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. But I slipped in that little bit of the film where I was walking to the garden gate, because I was just really saying, Claire, just get back to the point. Get back to what you were here for. And that was talking about your knitting. So that's what I did. But next time I will, on Monday, I'll probably do a little film of Stromness, weather permitting, of course. You never know what's going to be like. April's usually a pretty good month, actually, so you never know. Today's a nice day, so perhaps I can get some filming done on Monday, or that part of the island anyway, and that I will stitch together with the various little projects I'm doing anyway. So yeah, so I hope you have a nice weekend next weekend, and I'm sure you'll get plenty of knitting done. It's one thing about being on holiday, isn't it? It's knitting time. I get plenty of knitting time because I'm still sort of, I've been recuperating, but those time just made me jump as one of the pan lids slipped on the drainer on the kitchen sink.
I remember the days, all those years ago that never fade away, and I remember your face when you hit the ground. I can recall the time and place on a midnight walk through the old streets, trying to turn back the clock to the days of old, back to the days when all the things we knew were made of gold. As the world moves on, time sings a song. In the old neighborhood, as the clock strikes one, the memory lives just as it